The failure of wealthy nations to deal with their pollution problems has led us to an ironic predicament. Here we are talking about spraying new pollution into the sky to deal with a problem caused by the old pollution, which we continue to pump out as if there were no tomorrow. But here's the catch. The seductive idea of using science to roll back the effects of global warming could cause us all to avoid solving the real problem yet again.
The world could say, if you've got a plan B, I can stop worrying about it and move on with my life, but we won't do anything about our emissions problem because we have this other option.
Does the idea that geoengineering might reduce global warming take the pressure off of mitigation? Yes, I'm concerned about that.
That's the moral hazard, that by exploring this and having this as an option, that you don't do the hard work with emissions reduction that you need to do. So we don't have Plan B. We just have an idea that if we do some research, we might find a Plan B.
Pablo Suarez, who has seen what unintended consequences look like, is afraid that tinkering with the climate is a risk we may be forced to take eventually.
I cannot rule out geoengineering. It may be that we just put something to keep the sunlight out because more sunlight will make everyone die. But if we do something, we must have a responsibility to protect the most vulnerable.
And yet, for those who gathered on the California coast to brainstorm the ideas of climate rehabilitation, a note of determined optimism seemed to prevail in the end.
We have had an amazing track record once we clearly understand there's a problem and actually dealing with it, from lead and gasoline to air pollution to the global ozone layer. And I think it really is important to keep approaching the climate with that attitude. I think we do all of our kids a huge disservice if we have an attitude that this is unfixable and that this is just a disaster for humanity.
When I started working on the climate problem a number of years ago, I got very depressed about it, and I thought, oh gosh, this is a total disaster. And I went home one day to talk to my daughter and just started letting her know how upset I was and how depressed I was. And she looked at me and she said, "Mom, you have no right to take away my hope." And I have just lived by that ever since. I have no right to take away her hope.
Sucking carbon out of the sky will no doubt help, but if we dare to block out the sun to save the world, one big challenge will remain. The pollution that caused the problem would still be there. Geoengineering would only buy time to help break our addiction to what caused it. If we don't break that addiction, we could never stop spraying acid in the sky. Because if we dropped that artificial sunscreen, with all that pollution piled up underneath, the temperature would spike again, faster than ever. Planet Earth would be off its meds, and no amount of climate rehab could undo the damage then.
What really matters is whether I manage to play my role in defeating climate change. This is the Second World War times 100 for the human race, yeah? This is my Omaha Beach.